I remember the exact moment my boss, Camden, fired me. His words were very careful. He didn't sound angry or mean. He sounded cold, like he was reading from a script. "It's not a good fit anymore," he told me. He sat across from me in his fancy glass office. "We need people who can keep up visually with our fast pace." He even gave me a small smile. It was supposed to look kind, but it felt empty. I knew exactly what he was really saying. He was ending my career because I was becoming legally blind. The room felt suddenly very small, and the expensive art on his walls seemed to blur together. I had given 9 years of my life to Brightwell architecture. I worked so many late nights. I missed dinners with friends to finish last-minute pitches. I even came to work the week my dad had his heart surgery because a big client needed changes. I was loyal. I thought that loyalty meant something. They repaid me with a 9-minute meeting and a security guard who watched me pack my desk. He just stood there, a silent reminder that I was no longer welcome. My 9 years of dedication were gone in less than 10 minutes. I walked out of the building I helped design, and I felt like a complete stranger. It all started slowly. My vision began to get worse. Reading small text on blueprints became a struggle. I asked Camden for a larger computer monitor. It was a simple, reasonable thing to help me do my job. He said, "Sure, we can do that. But let's not make a big deal about it, okay?" I thought he understood. Then, a few days later, I was walking past the break room. I heard his voice. He was laughing with another manager. "She can't even read a room," he joked. "How's she gonna read blueprints?" I stopped walking. My face felt hot. That joke, that was the first crack in my world at Brightwell. The worst part was when they took me off the Madison project. It was my project from the very beginning. I came up with the original concept. I presented it to the client. Then, Camden called me in. He said the client needed a fresh perspective. He gave my project to Connor, a younger designer. Connor was the one who once submitted preliminary sketches that were upside down. Camden told me, clients feel more confident with someone who appears sharper. I felt a physical pain in my chest, like I'd been punched. The humiliation was so intense, I could barely breathe. After that, the office became a very lonely place. People I had worked with for years started avoiding me. At lunch, I would sit at our usual table, and one by one, everyone found an excuse to sit somewhere else. They'd say things like, "Oh, we thought you might want some space," or, "We're talking about something really visual, you might not get it." Even the new intern, who I had helped train, wouldn't look me in the eye. It was as if they thought my failing vision was a disease they could catch. I started eating lunch at my desk. Alone. The quiet avoidance turned into whispers. I was going to the printer one afternoon when I heard 2 junior designers talking. I recognized their voices. "I heard she's not even fully blind," one said. "She's just being dramatic to get sympathy," said the other. "She's playing the disability card to stay relevant," the first one replied. I stood frozen behind the corner. I didn't cry. I felt too numb for tears. I just turned around and took the long way back to my desk, walking past empty conference rooms. The final blow came on a Friday. Camden called me into his office again. This time, he had a smirk on his face. He didn't even bother hiding it. "I think you'd be happier somewhere else," he said, like he was giving me wise advice. Then he added the final insult. "Don't worry. I'll tell everyone you left for personal reasons." It'll look better for you. He made it sound like my entire career was a messy problem he was cleaning up. An embarrassing favor. I was too shocked to say anything. I packed my personal things into a small cardboard box the security guard gave me. The office was silent. No one said goodbye. No one offered to help. I put in my favorite pen, a photo of my family, and a small plant from my desk. The only sound was the constant hum of the laser printer. A sound I'd heard for 9 years, but now it sounded like it was laughing at me. I walked out holding that box. It felt so light in my hands, but my soul felt incredibly heavy. I had no job, and no idea what to do next. For the first 2 weeks, I did almost nothing. I felt lost and defeated. Then, one morning, I decided I wasn't finished being a designer. I had no plan, no clients, and no company name. But I still had my skills. My brain still worked. I could still design. My vision was different, but I still had my creativity. So, I cleared off my kitchen table. I opened my laptop. And I decided to start my own design firm. It was a terrifying thought, but it was the only one I had. My kitchen became my new office. The first spark of hope came as an email. It was from a woman named Sophia, whose bakery I had designed for Brightwell years ago. The subject line was, "I heard what happened." Her message was short and direct. She wrote, "What they did to you is disgusting. If you're working on your own, I need help redesigning my bakery's expansion." It wasn't a huge job. It wasn't a corporate headquarters. But it was something. It was a client who believed in me. I read that email 3 times. Then I wrote back with a simple, "Yes, I can help. Thank you." That one small project led to another. Sophia told her friend, who owned a small bookstore. That friend told another. One project became 3. Then 6. Then 10. I couldn't do it all alone, so I built a tiny team. I hired a part-time drafter who could bring my ideas to life on screen. A retired engineer I respected agreed to help with the technical details. He said he believed in my talent. My clients kept saying the same thing in their reviews. They said, "You really listen to what we need." It was something Camden and Brightwell had never done for me, or for their clients. About 6 months after I started my company, I got a surprising email. It was from a committee for a regional design award. I was nominated for my work on restoring a historic theater in my town. The design was all about preserving its feel while making it accessible. I read the email and then read it again. I didn't forward it to anyone. I didn't post it on social media. I just sat at my kitchen table and allowed myself a small, quiet smile. For the first time, my work was being recognized on its own. It was finally speaking for me. One morning, my drafter forwarded me an email. The subject was, "Request for Proposal, Headquarters Design." I almost deleted it, thinking it was spam. Then I saw the client name. It was Brightwell Architecture. My old company. They were expanding and building a new headquarters. They were looking for outside design firms to submit plans. I froze. My hands turned cold. I read the email 3 times to make sure it was real. They needed a designer for their own home. The irony was so thick I could almost taste it. I called my small team together. I told them about the Brightwell proposal. My drafter looked worried. "Is this too personal?" she asked. "Are we doing this for the right reasons?" I thought about it. Maybe it was a little personal. But that wasn't the main reason. I was bidding because I knew I could do the job better than anyone else. I understood what a workspace truly needed. I had a vision they would never think of. So, we decided to go for it. We started building the most detailed proposal of our lives. We didn't just design a building. We designed a philosophy. Our proposal was for a space built on universal design principles. It would be completely accessible, but also beautiful and elegant. It would have wide hallways for wheelchairs, tactile guides for the visually impaired, and quiet rooms for people who get overwhelmed. It was a building where no one would ever feel left behind or less than. It was a building designed especially for people like me. We poured every bit of our knowledge and heart into those plans. A month later, we got the response. Brightwell had shortlisted 3 firms for the final presentation. My firm, which I ran from my kitchen, was one of them. The email said the selection committee was impressed by our innovative approach. They didn't know yet that I was the founder. They didn't know I used to work there. But they would find out soon. Very soon. I imagined Camden's face when he saw my name on that list. I knew he would have to shake my hand in that boardroom. The day of the presentation arrived. Walking into the Brightwell offices felt surreal. The boardroom smelled exactly the same, like new carpet and stale coffee. It brought back a flood of memories. My team and I set up. Then the door opened, and the executives walked in. Camden was at the front. He saw me and stopped dead. His mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. I looked right at him. I gave him a calm, professional smile. "Good to see you again, Camden," I said. Then I turned and opened my laptop to begin. I led the presentation. I walked them through every part of the design. I explained the reasoning behind every ramp, every textured floor tile, every color-coded section. This entire design was created using tools that prioritize visual accessibility, I told them. And because of that, it is built for everyone to use and enjoy equally. The room was completely silent. The other executives were leaning forward, listening intently. I glanced at Camden. He was staring at the table. He couldn't look me in the eye. He couldn't even look at the designs. The week after the presentation felt like a year. I tried to focus on other work, but my mind was always on the phone. When it finally rang, I jumped. It was the head of the Brightwell selection committee. "We've made our decision," he said. "Your firm presented the most visionary plan we have ever seen. You didn't just meet the standard, you completely redefined it. We want you to design our new headquarters." I held the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice shaking. "You won't regret this." They asked me to come in to sign the formal contract. This time, I walked into the building as a valued partner. Camden was in the meeting. He looked like he had swallowed glass. He was pale and quiet. I made sure to wear the same blue blazer I had worn the day he fired me. It was a small, personal reminder of how far I'd come. I sat down in the very same boardroom. But this time, I was on the other side of the table. I was the one in charge. The news spread quickly. Trade journals published articles with headlines like, "Small Firm Lands Multi-Million-Dollar Brightwell HQ Redesign." My email inbox exploded. Colleagues, old classmates, even complete strangers wrote to me. They said things like, "Your story is inspiring," and "We're so proud of you." Meanwhile, Camden became very, very quiet. His social media went silent. He was never mentioned in any of the press releases about the new project. As part of starting the project, I had to tour the current Brightwell office. A young junior designer I didn't know was assigned to guide me. As we walked, she leaned in and whispered, "I heard what they did to you." We all did. She smiled a genuine, warm smile. "A lot of us are really glad you're back," she added. "Even if you're not staying for long." In that moment, surrounded by the ghosts of my old life, I felt something warm settle in my chest. It was a feeling I hadn't felt in a long time. It was peace. Camden didn't last long at Brightwell after the project began. A board member I worked with closely told me in confidence. He said Camden no longer represented the company's new values of inclusivity and innovation. He was let go during the second phase of my design project. The board member told me they escorted him from the building. He was let go in a quick, cold meeting. The same way he had let me go. The poetic justice was so perfect it was almost hard to believe. We finished the design 6 months later. The new Brightwell headquarters was stunning. It had open, wide walkways, beautiful natural lighting, and intuitive, color-coded navigation. A person who was completely blind could confidently and independently find their way to any office. The launch party was packed with important people from the city. There were speeches and congratulations. But I was the guest of honor. I stood in the beautiful atrium I designed, surrounded by light and laughter, and felt a joy so deep it brought tears to my eyes. They fired me because they thought I couldn't see. They thought my failing eyes made me less of a designer. But what they never understood was that my vision was never about my eyes. It was about my mind and my heart. I could see their flaws. I could see the limits of their imagination. I could see their fear of anyone who was different. And because I could see all that, I was able to build something they never could. I proved that true vision isn't about what your eyes can see. It's about what your heart can imagine. So, let me ask you, what can you see that others are blind to?